talking about that class action lawsuit. Alan Dershowitz, famed attorney, standing by live just to kind of break this down for us. Alan, I know you listened to this in its entirety there. A class action lawsuit against Facebook, Google, Twitter, and their CEOs. What did you make of it?
Well, as you know, I wrote a book about that exact subject, the case against the new censorship, protecting free speech from big tech. So I'm deeply involved in this issue, and I was also asked to be an expert witness, and I did submit an affidavit for this lawsuit. So I'm not simply an observer. This is a very, very important lawsuit. What's going on with high tech is unacceptable. It's inconsistent with the spirit of free speech that underlies our First Amendment. This is a complicated case because, as the president pointed out, and as Pam Bondi pointed out, and as the others pointed out, these are not just ordinary private companies. They have special exemptions under Section 230, and therefore they partake of some kind of government action. And the courts will have to parse this issue. How much of what they do is private? How much of what they do partakes of being public? What we don't want is the government telling private companies what they can say and what they can do. That would be wrong. But we don't want these quasi-public, enormous monopolistic companies to be restricting our free speech. The current situation is unacceptable. And this lawsuit, I think, will shake things up considerably, though I can't predict in the end how it will come out.
Professor, let me ask you about this, because they invited folks that may feel that they were censored by big tech to join in on this class action lawsuit. They gave the website to do so. Could this be a news story in itself of how many people might be a part of this lawsuit, all said and done?
Sure. Oh, sure. Look, I was censored. I had a debate with Bobby Kennedy. Here are two liberals. I'm a liberal Democrat who voted for Joe Biden. He's a liberal Democrat whose father was the Attorney General of the United States. We were arguing about vaccinations and mandatory vaccinations, and YouTube took it down. They said essentially, we're happy to have you listen to Dershowitz as part of the debate, but we don't want you to hear Bobby Kennedy as part of the debate. And in the end, thousands of people who wanted to see our debate couldn't see it. So I think many of us are victimized by this kind of censorship. And there will be people who will join this. It will be very interesting to see how the courts deal with this. This is a complicated and difficult case. It's not a simple case because there is an argument about private companies. And then the argument on the other side is they're not really private. And the courts are going to have to resolve that. There is some precedent on that. There's a case called Marsh versus Alabama, where a town owned by a company forbade free speech. And the Supreme Court said, no, although it's owned by a company, it partakes of the public, and therefore the First Amendment applies. So we're going to have to see how the courts resolve this very complicated, very interesting case. If I was still teaching at Harvard, I could teach an entire course just on the case.
Let me ask you two things. One, according to the legal team that we saw earlier, one of the attorneys brought up prior restraint, cited the Pentagon Papers. I wanted to bring that up if that plays a role. Plus, location, being in South Florida, the courts there. Your thoughts?
Two good points. Look, I was one of the lawyers in the Pentagon Papers case. I represented Senator Gravel in front of the United States Supreme Court. I believe very strongly that prior restraint is wrong. Clearly, what's happening here is prior restraint. That is, they're telling the former president of the United States, we don't want you on our platforms, no matter what you say. We're going to restrain you. So the issue is not so much prior restraint. I think everybody will acknowledge this is prior restraint. It's whether or not the prior restrainer is subject to the First Amendment or himself has a First Amendment right. That's what's so complicated about this. That's why I call this the new censorship. The old censorship involved pure government, McCarthyism, Congress. Today, we have these companies are the new censors. Southern Florida is picked tactically, obviously, because it has judges on both sides of the political spectrum. It's not New York. And I think that was a decision that was designed to maximize the chances of getting what they regard as a fair hearing.
All right. Well, let's kick it off today. President Trump and legal team announcing that, bringing the lawsuit there against the CEOs of Twitter, Google, Facebook, as well as the companies. Alan Dershowitz joining us live there with his reaction. Good to see you, Alan. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.